Hey treaties, let's cook Italiano. Stay tuned for personal travel recommendations and a tasty cooking demo. Roll that intro. Hey, I'm Christine, and welcome to my channel where we explore travel destinations and the eats that go with them. Today, we are going to talk about a staple dish that you've probably enjoyed a million times before in your life, but not in this way. It's a twist on a classic Italian dish, and the flavors will change the way you make this dish forever. It's hearty, a crowd pleaser, and reheat friendly for those who aren't fans of leftovers. But before we get started, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. Let's get started.
San Juan, Puerto Rico, a city dedicated to today's guests. Top things to do when visiting San Juan include taking a day trip to Flamenco Beach, visiting Old San Juan and checking out Umbrella Street, and exploring at the only tropical rainforest in the U.S. National Forest Service, El Yunque.
Today's guest is the sister of one of my closest friends. She is of Puerto Rican descent and a skilled mental health professional. Come on over, Jessie.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Excited about our meal today.
I am.
Tell us a little bit more about the ingredients that we'll be using and what the dish is.
So we're making lasagna. We're gonna veer away from the traditional a little bit and use the turkey lasagna to be healthier. I think you'll find that these are all traditional, typical ingredients. Your onions and pepper, garlic is a must. The cilantro gives it a little bit more flavor, a little bit more Caribbean. And you have your garlic salt, which obviously gives it a deeper flavor, included with the adobo. Adobo is a mixture of salts, a lot of Caribbean ingredients, but it really does make the flavor pop. We're gonna be using stewed tomatoes. My sister turned me on to stewed tomatoes. They really kind of make the meat feel really flavorful. It allows you to kind of feel like it's saucy without being drowned.
Gotcha.
And it gives you a lot of flavor.
Okay. And this is pre-seasoned tomatoes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So does it matter if you get the pre-season versus just like the no season?
It just depends on what kind of flavor you like.
Okay.
You're gonna cook the meat, drain the meat, and then saute the meat, and then you're gonna put the meat in the oven.
Okay.
So you lose a lot of flavor doing that. So you want all your ingredients to be as powerful as they can without being overwhelming.
Gotcha. So we did some pre-seasoning or pre-work already. Can you talk a little bit more about how you season the meat?
Yeah. So with the meat, we added a little bit of the adobo, which is the salt mixture. We added some of the garlic salt and some of the sazon, which is very Caribbean. And the sazon gives it color and texture. It gives it a lot of flavor. And we just kind of got in there.
Okay.
Just mixed it all up. Make sure that you got all of it. Because like I said, you're gonna brown this meat, and it's gonna lose a lot of that flavoring in the oils that are gonna be secreted.
So once we have this meat seasoned, we can just start cooking? Or?
Well, you want to go ahead and put the noodles to boil first because they
Okay.
take some time.
Okay.
So the water's already going, and we want to put the noodles in there, let them start boiling, and then we'll start browning the meat.
Okay. And we added a little bit of seasoning to the water. Can you talk about what you added there?
So we added a little bit of garlic salt, which basically just sticks to the noodles, gives the noodles a little bit of flavor. And we added oil so that the noodles don't stick to each other.
Gotcha. I guess it's time to get cooking.
Okay.
So now we're gonna brown the meat.
Yep.
Do we need to add any oil to the pan before?
No, the meat has its own natural fat.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and get all that drained out of it.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and get it all even.
Okay, so the noodles are done. Now what are we doing with them?
We're going to drain the water, and then we're going to shock them with cold water so they stop cooking at the consistency they're at. Otherwise, they'll overcook and they'll fall apart when you're trying to build it. And these are ready.
So the meat is done, And what are we doing now with the meat?
So we're gonna drain the grease. You wanna control the amount of fluid so that you don't have just like a wet mess, you know?
Gotcha.
We're just gonna get rid of all that, just grease and fat that we just don't need. To be real careful because you don't wanna drop it in there like I just did.
And so I don't think we talked about this. How much meat are we using here?
This is 3 pounds.
Okay. Does it matter how much meat you use, or can you use more or less?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, whatever you want.
Okay.
You know, 3 pounds makes, you know, your typical regular sized pan, lasagna pan.
Okay.
If you want something bigger or you want more layers, you can use more. If you want something smaller, you can use less.
So now that the meat and the noodles are cooked, we have to prep the other ingredients here. We'll cook the other ingredients up. Can you talk us through what we're doing?
So we're gonna put a little olive oil in the pan, just so that nothing sticks and burns. Go ahead and cover the pan with that. And then we'll add the garlic.
How many cloves of garlic are we cooking?
That's gonna depend on taste. I think today we used 4. I like using a lot of garlic, but if it's not your thing, a little bit will be fine. There's a whole pepper coming, diced. Cilantro. Once again, this is like to taste. I love cilantro, so I feel like the more, the better. Throw a whole bushel in there. That's how you feeling? Onion to taste. Onion is funny because you don't want to overpower it. So I try to stay with a little bit and then see where we go from there. Just kind of let that simmer. Let all those flavors mix together. It's my favorite smell in the whole wide world.
Anytime you put that together. Yeah.
When you start seeing the cilantro just wilt a little bit, then you know you're ready to go ahead and add the meat. And then you want to go ahead and get that all mixed up. You want to try to break the meat up as you go along so that you can spread it evenly when you're building it.
Do we need to add any additional seasoning at this point?
You can, if you really want it to be, like if you like salt and that's what you like. At this point I can smell it, so I don't think it needs it, but again, that's to taste. You can put in the tomatoes.
So how long should we let this simmer for?
10 or 15 minutes should do it. Not necessarily low,
Okay.
but a little lower than high.
Okay. Okay, so we like to have a little fun with each of our guests by doing rapid trivia. The rules of rapid trivia are you get 25 seconds to answer as many questions as possible. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is the capital of Puerto Rico?
San Juan.
Name one Puerto Rican dish.
Arroz con pollo.
True or false? Pasta was first eaten in China.
False.
A single piece of garlic is called what?
A clove.
Spell lasagna backwards.
No. Alright, so we're going to put some sauce on the bottom to keep the noodles from getting like dried out and brittle. And then we'll put a base layer of noodles so they're cool and the oil keeps them from sticking to each other, so they'll just peel right off.
Nice.
And you don't want them to be too soft,
Okay.
because then they won't hold anything together. They'll just fall apart.
Gotcha.
Put a little more sauce.
So we have ricotta cheese here that we pre-seasoned. So you added
A little bit of adobo.
Okay.
And just a little bit of Italian seasoning. Adobo to taste, Italian seasoning for texture. The cheese, obviously, is delicious, but it also acts like a glue. Meat. And you can make your layers as thick or as thin as you like.
Okay. Now what about options for adding in vegetables?
That's a good question. I myself don't particularly like using a lot of vegetables. Personally, it's just a personal preference, but you can, if you're using some of the heartier stuff, right? Like squash, things like that you can slice. You can use instead of using meat.
Okay.
You just have to be really careful about the cooking. You want to keep that to a minimum because you don't want it to fall apart because there's so much heat.
Yeah.
And you have to do a lot of seasoning.
Gotcha.
So we built it. There's 3 layers. You got your beef, your ricotta cheese, your sauce, your mozzarella cheese, and we went ahead and garnished the top with just some Italian seasoning just to give it some color, texture, and a little bit of pepper. And we'll let all of that melt. It'll all glue itself together. You know what I mean? To keep it from falling apart. That's all you need.
Okay. So we're gonna put it in the oven. We have the oven set at 350. How long should we leave it in there?
15-20 minutes should do it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the lasagna is finished. Looks delicious. Everything is all gooey and warm. Do you have any recommendations on what to pair this with, or what you normally pair this with?
You know what? Some garlic bread. And if you're a wine drinker, a nice red. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Let's dig in. That's good. That's really good. I'm just taking another bite. It is delicious. All the flavors work well together. Thank you so much, Jessie, for being on this show.
Happy to be here.
The lasagna was perfect, and I will never make lasagna the same way again.
You will.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram @TreatTalk. I'll see you next time. But until then, keep on treating.